In this video, I want to show you guys how to create a program that will request the user enter an integer, evaluate that integer, and determine whether that integer is even or odd. So the first thing we need to do is get input from the user, and we're going to store it into a variable called n. So we're going to set n equal to the input, and this input function will get input from the user and store it into this variable n right here. What we're going to type in here is what's going to prompt up on the user's screen, and we're just going to tell them to enter an integer. So enter an integer. Okay. From here, this input method by default, regardless of what we type in here, will return a string back to this variable in here. We're going to have to perform certain arithmetic operations on this value, and we cannot perform arithmetic on strings. So what we're going to have to do is convert this into an integer using the int method, so we can in fact use those arithmetic operations. So from here, it's quite simple. All we have to do is evaluate it using the modulus operator. So to determine whether an integer is even or odd, all we have to do is see if 2 divides evenly into it. So what we can say is if n modulus 2 is equal to 0, we're just going to print even, because what this modulus operator does is, say this is 11, this n is 11, it sees how many times 2 can go into 11. Well, it can go into 11 5 times, but there's a remainder of 1. What this modulus operator does is return the remainder. If the remainder is 0, that means that it went evenly into that integer and it was an even number. And if it isn't even, it must be odd. So else print odd. And if we ran this, so let's run it, and it says enter an integer, we will say 11. That is odd. Let's run it again. Enter an integer, we'll say 124. That is even. Okay, cool. So let's go back to the program. Say we wanted to be able to enter multiple numbers and evaluate multiple numbers without having to continuously run this program over and over and over. What we could do is we could create an infinite while loop, and we can do this saying while true. So this will run forever. Okay, make sure the indentations are correct. So as of right now, this will run forever, and we can just continuously enter numbers and evaluate numbers, but we want a way to be able to break out of this. And what we can do to do so is we need a breaking condition. So what we're going to do is we're going to say if n is equal to 0, we're just going to break out of this infinite while loop. So we need to create this into an else if, so el. So what this program is going to do is it's going to ask you for a number. You're going to enter a number. It's going to evaluate whether it's even or odd, and it's going to continue to do this until we enter 0. So let's run it. Run hello. Make this bigger. So we will say 9. That's odd. 12. Even. 146. Even. This number. That is odd. Okay, we enter 0. It breaks out of the infinite while loop, and that is essentially the gist of this program. That's how you create a even or odd evaluator in Python. I hope that you learned something, and if you did, I would appreciate it if you liked, commented, and subscribed.